Hello, welcome to another tutorial. Today we're going to be making this card here. Let me zoom out a little bit. And this card here. I really like this technique. It's not one I use very often, but I really enjoy it. One of the reasons I don't use it very often is a dye-based marker technique versus a Copic technique. And I don't know, out of habit I always tend to reach for my Copics rather than my dye-based markers, but I was asked to show, what are some of the things that these can do, and I thought this was a good card to play around with. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to emboss your vellum. I already did that step, and this is the front of the vellum, and we are going to actually color on the back of the vellum, and this is really important. This is what gives you the soft watercolor look to this card. So with dye-based markers, you always want to color light to dark. So with this, I'm using my light pink, and I am going to color in small areas and zoom in a little bit for you at a time. And I'm doing this so it doesn't dry, and I'm just going to scribble a little bit of dark where I think the shadow would be. Now I'm going to show you what this looks like on the other side. If you can see, there is a harsh line between where it's dark and where it's light, and you can actually see this better on a white piece with dark and light, and I don't really care for that look. So what I'm going to do is take my finger and lightly smudge that line and soften that line, and you end up with a really nice pretty watercolor feel rather than the harsh, this is dark and this is light. And I'm going to do that for all the different blossoms. I'll do a couple here for you. And the key is working in small areas. Again, just taking my finger, smudging that out, softening those edges. And you got to do your best not to touch anything with that finger that has the smudges on it. Here again, you can see it's nice soft look to it. I wouldn't do more than 1 or 2 petals at a time, just to prevent the ink from drying. And in a lot of ways, this is very forgiving about if you go outside the lines or not. See, it's coming along pretty nicely. And always remember, again, this is really important because I don't want you to ruin your markers. You have to work light to dark. Once you put dark marker on, you can't go back and add light or it will ruin your dye-based markers. With your Copics, you can get away with that and it works out really well. But with dye-based markers, that is a big no-no. So I have one flower done. I was debating on my original card, I made these 2 petals here pink, but I think on this version, on this card, I'm going to try making them green just to see what that looks like. So I'm going to start with my light green, just the same as I did. Come in with my dark green. Lightly smudge. Let's see how that looks. I kind of like that. It adds a little more color, different variety. And in the stem, I'm actually not going to worry about blending in the stem. It's too tiny. It's easy to smudge outside the lines, so I don't want to do that. This is my light green though, so I'm going to go and color my leaf. And before that dries, I am going to add some dark to my leaf. Kind of checking to see. I want to smudge this a little more. It's still a little harsh. Perfect. And I'm just going to continue to color the rest of this. Doing the same technique throughout. Still being careful to stay in the lines. I'm going to go back to my pinks. And this is a really small area, so I'm going to do it all at once. And to really get the full feel of the color, you need to put it against a white. Oh, beautiful. Love it. Very elegant looking. I'm going back to my greens. I do want to add that this only works on vellum. If you tried to do this on paper, it wouldn't work. The ink gets soaked up immediately, and this is the only way to get dye-based markers to blend. Okay, now that I have that all colored, there's my spray. And you really want to be careful to not get ink prints on your vellum. I notice I have one here down here. I'm going to take my finger and lick it, and it's far enough away from things. I'm going to try to get it off. Not having the best of luck. A little bit. Okay, I think I'm going to try to fix that in another way. Next thing I'm going to do is take my Hello die cut, and I'm going to put glue on the back of it. And I'm using my 2-way glue pen to do this. Oops. And because I have that little smudge, I think what I'm going to do is put my O right on top of the smudge so you'll never know it was there. So don't tell anybody. And then once that's there, I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the green parts of my flower. And I'm going to hope that the dark part of the green kind of hides the glue. Because the one part about vellum, or the tricky part about vellum, is that you can see through it. So it's very easy to, the one cool thing about vellum is you can see through it, but the bad part about vellum is you can see through it. So sometimes it's really hard to hide the glue through the vellum, and we don't want anything ugly to show there. Now what I wish I did before I put that down was to put a little bit of glue on the back of this. So I'm going to just flip this up and put some glue again and hide it under my L's. Wish I did this before I laid that other part down, but we're gonna make it work. Just give that a second to dry. And then I'm going to use my regular adhesive. To adhere this to my card base. And the last thing I'm going to do is I have a couple rhinestones that I am going to add to the front. Who doesn't like a little bling? These are attached together. I think I like them a little farther apart, so I'm going to tear them apart. And that's it. There are our two cards. So I have two versions of this, one with a little bit more green than the other. I'll post pictures of both of them. I actually think I like the one with a little bit more green, but it's a personal preference. You can go either way. And that's a little bit about watercoloring on vellum, or faux watercoloring on vellum. I hope you've enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching.